Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, dear Dharma practitioners, there was a boy, and by birth he had only one arm. So, everybody used to make fun out of him. And when he go to school, and other friends gave a hard time. And even no one used to appreciate him. He became kind of like a, useless person. One day he was walking through the street. Then he saw some people practicing judo. Judo is the one of the well-known famous martial art come from Japan. So this boy every day used to see these people practice. And then there was an old master teaching, sensei. And one day this boy stopped outside the class and start to look what these people doing. And this old sensei saw this boy and told, come in. And this boy entered without any hopes. And he was a kind of like a person rejected from everybody. But this is a kind of a strange invitation for him, because mostly people say, go away, go away. This is the first time he heard, come in, somebody asking, somebody inviting him. And even it was a kind of like all the strong people practicing, and he got a kind of like, he became so happy inside, but at the same time he had the fear. So then he entered to the class, and this old sensei asked, you want to practice? This boy was so happy and told, I have only one arm. These old people. So then the sensei told, so from tomorrow, come after school. So he go to school. Now everybody, make fun out of him. He don't care now. Why? Because he have a dream to go to the class, because there is a place that somebody appreciate, somebody inviting him, somebody giving a space. So the boy became kind of like, so calm, relaxed while that other children make fun out of him. So then what happened? This boy start to practice, and the sensei, the teacher, taught him only one technique. The other boys, other students used to learn many techniques, but teacher 6 months just taught only one technique. So this boy keep practicing with his one arm, and then one day asked, can I learn any other the techniques? The teacher told, the sensei told, no, just keep practice, keep practice. Don't have any hopes regarding any other technique. This is the only technique you have, and this is one of the most difficult technique in judo practice. So keep practice this. So the boy start to keep practice, and he didn't look for any other, options, any other techniques. Just one technique he keep practice. After 6 months, he became kind of like a more skillful student with that one technique in one arm. So then what happened? There was a competition, and the teacher took him there. In the very first level, the first round, he beat the other guy and he became first. So then he went to the second round and he became the first. So somehow, little by little, he keep beating to everybody and then came to the final. So that day, all the other teachers and came and have the meeting and then having a discussion regarding the capability of this guy, because maybe he get injured and he have no much experience. And so then, but the sensei, his coach told, don't worry, I'll take all the responsibility. And then he went to the final competition, and there was a strong guy and tried to fight with this 6 month train, this newcomer. So then what happened? This boy won the tournament and he became the best. So then on the way, the teacher and this guy had the conversation. This student asked, Sensei, how this happened? This all the boys, this all other students, and used to practice so long. And I just practiced 6 months. And even I have only one arm. So what happened to them? How I became like this? So then Sensei told, one thing, you practiced one technique and you became so good with that technique and you mastered that technique, and then you deeply have the confidence. You didn't see that because you don't have any other options, and then you always look for that, you go for that. You don't have any other choice. And for them, what happened? They learn many techniques and mostly they practice to tackle other guys, the other opponents, other student, and thinking they have two arms. They practice to fight for two arms. So when you go with one arm, there are half of skills cut down. And that way you win 50% already when you go there. Why? Because they have no opportunity to grab you. Another thing is that the lack of the trust that they have, because you are one arm, and they overconfident themselves. Oh, this guy have only one arm, so I have two arms. And so an overconfidence lose their other 50%. So remember in your life, when it comes to meditation, and even when it comes to in day-to-day life, sometimes you can see very easily what you lose, what you don't have. But in another way, you don't see what are the capabilities, what are the opportunities that you can get out of it. If I bring another story, as you know, David and Goliath, when they have the fight, the Goliath was the big, huge monster. And the David, everybody ran, and then the David had told, he's so big. Everybody complained, don't go, he's so big. Then the David told, he's big. Because of that, my target not going to miss. So, dear devotees, remember in life, when it comes to life, it is more important the way you behave with your own mind, not with the society, not with the outside world. Because the way you talk to yourself, the way you behave with your own mind, the way you develop things inside you, end of the day, going to become your life. So then always remember, there is no choice for you. Don't try to depend on others in day-to-day life. That is the one of the most important teachings when it comes to the Buddha's teaching. Be a lamp to yourself. Be an island to yourself. Be a master to yourself. That doesn't mean you developing kind of like a very self-centered, egocentric life. No, but you have the 100% responsibility regarding yourself. So then always nourish your heart with all the good qualities and don't bring any negativity to yourself. So that is very important in the conventional life. So in the conventional life, when it comes to the very behavior of it, understanding it very carefully is very necessary for you. When it comes to Dharma, there are two words. Dharma, Dharmata. So it's kind of like fundamentals and the phenomena. So the Dharma is, you cannot do anything for that. It doesn't matter you like it or not, and it doesn't matter that you understand it or not, it's going to be there. As example, hardness, heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness, 4 elements. That is the Dharma, and no one can change it, and no one can get anything out of it, and it depends on itself, and it is independent, and it has a behavior, and forever it going. The hardness is a Dharma. It's a quality that itself exists. And when it comes to dharmata, or the phenomena, and out of that, what you can understand, when you when you recognize how this behave, that observing that behavior going to teach you something. As example, there is an object and you have the eye. When the eye and the object come together, eye consciousness arise. Ear, the ear object or the sound, when the ear and ear object comes together, ear consciousness arise. That is a dharmata. So that is a phenomena. That is what you have to understand. All the scientists may be recognized the very behavior of the nature. So that's why they can create many things out of the atom. But still, if they don't recognize the bottom of the phenomena, they're not going to get out of anything. Maybe they create something, but that doesn't mean they can get anything out of it. So that is why mostly we deal with the outside world, and we look, it is look like we holding to it and we do things, but it is finally end of the day we become a debtor to this outside world. But recognizing phenomena, it is not like that. Using this everything, you become free. And rather than becoming a debtor, you become free. So there's two ways. Using that all the 4 elements, you can create something and you can make something happen, and then you can bound to that whatever the outside result, and then you can put a name, I did this. Of course you can do that, but see that as example, you making different parts, and then you create a pen. It's brand new, it is completely your the design, and then you use all the 4 elements to make this pen happen like this way, and then you bound to this pen and tell, I did this, and then you put your name also, you get the patent and you hold it to it, and then you think, I did this. So then what happened? Your mind caught up to this. And rather than becoming free from this, and you became a debtor to this. You are always harbor to this. And another way, you recognize the four elements, and then you recognize that what happened, how the four elements can change to different things, and out of that change, how things can arise. Out of the change, how the things arise, whatever that arisen, also possible to change. Why? Because that all the fundamentals change. That's why you able to make this pen happen. So as example, plastic, iron, or the ink. So this everything, heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness, able to change. So that's why you make the pen happen. So then that as a result of that change, this pen became. So then this pen invisibly bound to change. That is the Buddha's teaching. Rather than bound to this and recognizing that what is the deeply that inherent within this. So how this became like this? Because of the change. And that change, it is just not only for a one moment. It's always happening, and that happening we call existence. So when it comes to your life, in day-to-day life, that whatever you experience, then always remember, rather than getting to, or rather than analyzing, or rather than looking the outside surface level of incidents or the events or the situations or the things, and learn to recognize and how these things can happen, why these things happens. So that is what you can get. That is what called dharmata, because dharmata is happening all the time, and once you recognize, that is where you slowly phenomena, you slowly start to get out of the formations. Formations relate to phenomena. So as example, there is a eye object and you have the eye. So when these two things come together, eye consciousness arise. So then that mechanism, billion years ago, if somebody used to be in this world, that person also had that. And then in the future, billions after eons, whoever have the eye, if there is an object, when these two things come together, eye consciousness going to arise. And not only this planet, if you hear, or maybe the Mars, they have in human beings or any other beings, and they have eyes, and then they also going to have the eye consciousness. So that is a phenomena that you cannot change. And but when you understand that, that is where that wisdom is what you need. Because other than that, what you going to do with the hardness? Because you are itself a result of hardness. So what you going to do with the motion or liquidity or the heat? You cannot do anything. That is the very nature. You are came out of it. But when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, you have to remember and you have to recognize how this behavior happened. That is why we go with the cause and effect. If you don't go with the cause and effect, and or if you don't catch the phenomena, maybe you recognize the fundamentals. Recognizing fundamentals doesn't mean it help you to gain the liberation. So before the Buddha, and even nowadays, even there are many other people can get the fundamentals. but they don't recognize the behavior of the fundamental. So then always remember, your purpose should be, when it comes to your inner recognition, when you observe the pain, just recognizing pain doesn't make any sense. Of course, you know you have a pain because it is a part of consciousness. Then what to recognize? It is there. That's when you see the pain, it's a part of recognition. Otherwise, you're not going to get the pain. So then what did it say? Recognize the behavior of the pain. So rather than hold it to the name, or rather than hold it to the shape, recognize the behavior of it. So there are two words, change and impermanent. So the change, when conventional, you everyday experience the change. But when it comes to impermanence, why you cannot catch the impermanent out of the change? Because if you go with the change, it's kind of like you go with the 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 outside layer. But when it comes to the impermanent, you see entire process arising, existing, and disappearance all. So this every day it happen, it is there. That's why it teach. It is visible. It impermanent is visible. But why we cannot see it? Because your mind interfere with something else. So that's why through the meditation, little by little, we trying to get into that. So what is the meaning of it is visible? How you can experience that? So when it come to impermanent, or when it come to that arising, existing, and disappearance in day-to-day life, just imagine you just see a tree, or maybe you see an apple tree. So when you see the apple tree, in that very moment, that is the present moment. You recognize this is a tree, and then maybe you recognize if there is apple, or you recognize this is apple. That recognition is the present moment. That is what we every day trying to get into that. And the invisible also visible to you. So what is that? So you don't have a tree, then there is a space in your garden. Then you go to garden shop and you buy a little plant, apple tree. So how you buy that? Why you buy it? Because you know this tree going to give you apple. But in the moment, you don't see, like the first tree that you saw and recognize this is an apple tree. And this is a little plant, even no flowers, and even you have no idea it is capable or not to give apple, but you know this is an apple tree and it going to give apple. So recognizing the tree is kind of like you recognize the fundamentals. You, out of other trees, you get this is apple tree. But without flowers, without even becoming, young or strong, that tree, without apple, how you know this tree going to give you apple? That is the method that you use phenomena or dharmata, because you know this kind of tree have a capability to bring the apples. That is what the Theravada, the Buddhism deeply taught. That is why. So it is a tree, just a give example. That is why You have to practice the discipline. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do it. Didn't happen to you. But when two young people get married, and you can tell what's going to happen in the future. Why? Because the marriage is kind of like the phenomenon, fundamentals. When two get married, they belong to phenomena, dharmata, and they cannot escape from that. So same like when you like for a child, it's that likeness is kind of like a fundamental. Once you have it, out of that fundamentals, the whatever the phenomena are going to happen, you have no power of it. You have no authority on it. It belongs to this phenomena. So once you know that, always you slowly get out of things. Why? Because you know if you do this, this is going to happen. And not only that, now, so the present moment you recognize, or as example, the fire is there, and if you put your hand, you're going to burn. It is a present moment of, experience, understanding. It's a very common. So because this is the thing that mostly we believe out of meditation, you can get something that which you don't know. In Theravada, Buddha's teaching, it doesn't talk like that way. That's why it is visible. That it's how it is visible. Like the way you go to the garden shop and buy a tree without any fruits on it, and with the hopes that this tree going to give you fruits, that's mean in that very moment, it is visible for you. It is not a hope. It is visible for you. That's why you do it. So then when it comes to your life, so whatever the action you do deeply, remember, there is a truth that you hold. That's why you keep doing it. If you don't see that it is in you, you will never get out of it. Another thing is, whatever going to happen in the future, it also visible for you. It is visible for you. It is just not you cannot tell, oh, it is in the future, whatever happen, it will happen that way. No. That's why when you recognize this method, you become more careful with your bodily, verbally, and mentally action. Why? Because you know when you do something and things going to happen, it is out of your control. So then when it comes to that, regarding the future, you are able to see, and even not only that, the past also you can see. How the past you can see. So just imagine the apple tree, that you see a tree, and then it's already and died. So then around that, there was a fire, that the kind of like a few days ago, there was a fire happened. And now this tree already burned little bit and died. So you recognize this tree died. And not only that, you able to recognize the reason. That through the present moment of the reason, you recognize what happened in the past. Because of the fire, this tree died. So see, it is visible. That the past is visible for you. So like that way, when you come to the moment, that whatever in the moment, in this very moment, remember, you are not disconnect from that whatever you have done in the past and or whatever you're going to do in the future. That's why when it comes to Buddha's teaching, see, remember that Buddha, even you can remember when you keep practice meditation, when your mind become clear, all the things you're going to remember. Even in the mother's womb, you can remember. Even your previous life, you can remember. And not only that, even around you, people, you can remember. But that memory not going to bound and hold, oh, this is like this way. Why? Because when the mind become clear, you recognize how this all happened, and not only that, why this happened. So like that way, when it come to observing and recognizing, means you observe the moment of the experience to recognize the phenomena or the dharmata. So how these things happen. So then you see the change. So when you able to recognize the change, means it is just not the moment of disappearance. Arising, existing and disappearance, the entire process is called impermanent. If you don't see that, if you just only see the arising, or if you see only the existence, if you see only the disappearance, you cannot understand what is impermanent. So the impermanent means arising, existing, and disappearance. So when you see the change, in the very moment you recognize something or the object, and when you keep observing, what will happen? Your mind become clear and sharp, and that clarity will show you arising, existing, and disappearance. But the thing is, when the mind is interfere with something, you're not going to recognize this. As example, look, in the very moment you don't see your inhalation, exhalation. But when you keep put the attention, what will happen? You will recognize how the inhalation arise, and how it continue, and how it end. That seeing this entire process is the recognition of impermanent. So then, rather than just observing inhalation, exhalation, it's kind of like you caught up in that the moola, or the pound fundamentals. So the fundamentals going to be forever in the universe. Just dealing with the fundamentals doesn't work. As example, suffering. Suffering is kind of like, the reason it's all over the universe. Whoever experience life, the suffering going to be there. Don't focus to that. Don't try to deal with it. You recognize it, but start to look how this happened. Go into it and investigate it. Happiness. Happiness is everywhere. It's happening all the time. You have no power out of happiness. But rather than caught up on it, settle down on it, start to look, what is this? How this happening? Then you're going to see something. That is what you need. But the thing is, we mostly try to intellectually understand suffering, happiness, dukkha, or the fear. We trying to understand things. So that doesn't work in life. It doesn't matter you understand it or not. It has its own way. But start to look. Why? Because your time is very limited. So don't waste your time for unnecessary things. That's why the Buddha mentioned, when it comes to Satipatthana or the Vidarsana, from 7 days to 7 years, and the Buddha guaranteed, and you can attain to enlightenment. That means you don't go with unnecessary informations. You directly go to how things arise, existing and disappearing. When it come to that, it doesn't matter for you, it is a happiness. It doesn't matter for you, it is a dukkha. It doesn't matter for you, it is a comfort. It doesn't matter for you, it is a fear. So then you come out of the dualistic mind, the very first level. Remember that. If you are caught up in the dualistic mind, you cannot look for that. So once you get out of the dualistic mind, your main purpose is recognizing how this happened. Then you're not focusing to, oh, it is a happiness or it is a unhappiness. No, you don't focus to that. Because look at the world. The world is trying to deal with that way. And how to get out of the happiness, the unhappiness, and how to increase the happiness. How to get out of the death and how to create the longevity. When it comes to the vipassana level of observation, we don't look for that kind of details. So in life yourself, remember, when you come to a point to see whatever that happened, rather than dividing it to a categories with the dualistic mind, with the comparison, if you try to do things, you cannot get into the dharma. So in the deeper level, what you have to do, start to look how it happened and the way it happened. And then you will see it doesn't matter, it is a happiness, it is an unhappiness, you're going to see something. That something is that everything happened the same way. How you cannot uh, get into kind of how it is possible like that way. That is why you have to experience that. But the thing is, we are caught up into theories and we are caught up into patterns. We are caught up and we are very limited to teachers or the certain kind of practice or the techniques. Because of that, ourselves, we cannot get into that freedom. So then, little by little, when you practice meditation, always look rather than putting the names, categorizing, and dividing things, and go with your past experience, just the moment of experience, just look what this is and how this is happening. Then you will see arising, existing, and disappearance is equal to everything. Everything means everything. When the day you recognize that, that is where you become free from this all the thoughts that you carry in your mind. So that is the day we call your liberation, your transformation, or your ultimate bliss of Nibbana. So with that, I bless upon everyone with this good practice. May all of you be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May no problems come to you. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties in your life. During this time period, may everyone stay healthy and safe. And finally, may all of you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sabbityo vajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava. Ittavata ca ammehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idam me punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Bless you.